Alright, what's going on guys? Gdogg here with another new series starting up here. This is Path of Exile. It's all the rage these days. They just released a new update for 3.0 and the game has just had a major resurgence. A lot of people coming back to play it, me included. We have a shit ton of characters here. A lot of these are older characters, to be honest, but some of them are pretty new. I've been playing a lot with my wife and I realized that I've been playing enough that I want to actually make a series over it. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to play in the Harbinger League. We're going to not do solo self-sound. I did think about doing this. If you guys think this might be interesting, then let me know. Solo self-found is basically like where you can't trade or party up with any other players at all. So everything you need for your character, you actually have to find it yourself. And that makes things pretty tough for finding like build specific items that you need. So we're not going to do that for the first time, but maybe for the second time. This time around, we are going to be doing a Marauder. And we're going to just jump right in. I'm going to be treating this one very similar to the other series I've started, where it's focusing more on just the gameplay mechanics and not the story. A lot of times, Jesus, talking is still happening. A lot of times it is my goal to bring the story to the forefront, but for a couple series that I'm doing, I'm going to make it so that it's actually the gameplay that's the forefront, not really the story. The story can sort of slow things down quite a lot. I'm going to skip all tutorials here. And we're just going to get going. So I'm not an expert at this game by any means. The highest level character I have is like level 46 or something. But I want to make a series on it anyway and see how far we can get, basically. So we're gonna go on and kill some dudes with heavy strike. Put on a superior plate vest, that kind of thing. We're gonna have a little bit of a oh, sorry, I forgot one thing. We're gonna have a bit of a bonus to our start because of the fact that I do have other characters and a lot of the currency orbs I've already found and I can use to set ourselves up with a bit of a better start. It's not going to make that much of a difference, and some people might actually think that I'm making a mistake by doing this, and I'm not saying I'm not. When I say some people think, they very well might be right about it, but I'm not too worried in keeping all of... Oh, I'm going the wrong way. I'm not too worried about keeping all my currency orbs to the end game. I like to use some of them so I can buff up my character. And to those of you new to Path of Exile, you will understand more as we sort of play. But for the meantime, let me just go ahead and explain a little bit about how it works here. So, any class can use any skill and any set of gear or anything like that, as long as they have the prerequisites to do so. In terms of your main stats, strength, dexterity, and intelligence. This is the first boss here, so we're going to just go ahead and slam him into the ground using our mana regen, which I don't have anymore right now for some reason. I guess my mana flask was pretty low. But it doesn't really matter. We can just beat him down with our normal attacks anyway. Healing up when we need to. And there we go. Find a bunch of shit. None of it is really any good, so we're going to leave it all there. I am following a build here. The build I'm going for with this character is going to be a Sunder build that I have found online from a dude called... It's EE, I know, is his... initials for his channel. Why is YouTube taking so long to open up? Holy shit, come on, dude. I want to give you guys the actual proper name, but it's literally just taking forever to load. Might have something to do with the fact that I was loading into a new zone or something, I don't know. His name is Engineering Eternity. He makes incredibly high quality videos on YouTube for Path of Exile, and I've been watching quite a bit of them lately. And this is a build he recommended as a starter build. So we're going to go with it. Okay. First things first, we're going to set ourselves up with some gear. And I'm going to show you guys my stash. It's not anything crazy. I did pay for the premium currency stash, and as well as 8 other stashes as well. So I have a bunch of stash room here, and just a bunch of random shit kind of all over the place. But that said, we do have a bit of a start. I only have 5 Chaos Orbs, 5 Orbs of Alchemy. It's not a whole ton, but I'm going to use them to sort of give us a bit of a boost. We did level up. Every time you level up, you get 1 passive point to put in the passive skill tree. I have already loaded up a guide here, or the passive skill tree that I'm going to want to be following. And we are starting by going down the life route. So we're going to be taking a lot of life with this build. I'm going to be going down here. But take a look at this thing, man. Like, as soon as I saw this, I was blown away. This is the type of shit I love about RPG games. And as long as you get enough levels, you can go anywhere here. So all the different classes start in different areas. I think the Duelist starts here. The Shadow, like, I might be wrong about the specific areas, but it branches off into 6 different directions. So you know, this is where the Marauder starts. That's who we started with, and we're going to be going down this way and all that. So get a bit more of a look at that. But the first thing we're going to do while we're in town is speak to Tarkley and get ourselves set up with some decent gear. We're going to buy, let's say like this one. It's got 3 links. One of them is red, or one of them is blue, but it's not a big deal. It only costs us a couple scrolls of wisdom to get this. We're also going to be using dual wielding. So we're going to try to pick up not a dagger, but a sword. If we can. We want a club and a sword. And the only kind of swords this guy sells are rusted swords. We'll just take that for now. Not a big deal. We're also going to pick up some boots. Focusing on armor, of course. And it looks like he is not selling any armor-related boots right now. So we're going to skip that. He doesn't even have any armor-related helmets either. So we got a little bit shafted there. Nessa will sell us... Oh, I said sell, so I clicked on sell. Some of these belts here will help for physical damage, so we will buy a belt as well. And also, we need to be level 3 for these, but we're going to buy a medium mana flask, another medium mana flask, and 2 medium health flasks as well. And we'll sit those over here, and we're going to get a couple rings. And these are all just costing me scrolls of wisdom. How about we get a coral amulet as well. Now, I'm going to show you some of the things you can do in Path of Exile once you have a decent starting point in terms of these different orbs that you can find. So these orbs you're going to find throughout the game. As you level up, different enemies are going to drop them. And I'm using what's called a loot filter, which I'll show you real quick. Come to UI, scroll all the way down. We're using the Filter Blade loot filter. I'll try to remember to put a link in the description below. Where I found that. I might forget, so if I forget, you guys leave a comment, let me know, and I'll just come back and I'll add it. Because I tend to be pretty bad about descriptions and stuff like that. But this is going to help us single out the important loot that we're going to find. And a lot of these currency orbs are those types of things. They'll stand out when enemies drop them. So what we can do is we can take this plate vest that's got 3 sockets. It's much better than a plate vest that only has 1. Put it in here. And we can use what's called an Orb of Transmutation to turn a normal item into a magic item. Another thing we can do is use an Orb of Alchemy to turn a normal item into a rare item, which is actually pretty awesome. And I will do that one time for this plate mail. So you'll see if I use it on this, boom, now it's got a whole bunch of different properties, including increased armor, more strength, fire resistance, and increased stun and block recovery. So it's much better. We'll just put this gem in there, and then we'll sell this, this thing later. We also want to do this as a rustic sash, but I'm not going to use any more orbs of alchemy. We're just going to use transmutation to make them magical. Plus 7 to life, I like it. We'll take it. Now this ring, same thing. Plus 10 to strength and plus 1 to maximum energy shield. The extra strength is pretty good. The energy shield we don't really care too much about. And then here we're going to get plus 15 to maximum mana. Now maximum mana is pretty much garbage for us. So what we can do is use an Orb of Alteration, which will just reforge the magic properties. So instead of 15 to mana, we now get increased mana regen and more energy shield. So that's kind of shit, so we're going to do it again until we get something that we actually kind of like. Dexterity we don't need. One thing you can do is if you right click on it and hold shift, you can then just click. We don't need dex. We don't need mana gained on kill. We're just going to keep going until we get something that's actually like good. Oh, okay, this adds some lightning damage. You know what? I'll take it. Pretty good. And then lastly, this amulet will make it magical. Increased armor. You know what? I'm not going to waste too many more orbs. You guys won't be able to do this with your very first character, but you will see that you'll start to find these things quite often. You can see I have almost 100 Scrolls of Wisdom there. So actually what we're going to do with that is we're going to take a stack, and we're going to take a stack of Portal Scrolls as well and put them in there. Just so that we have them. We're going to hold on. Actually, instead of holding on to them, we might as well turn these magical now while we're doing it. I'm not going to worry too much about what the magical properties for these are, because it's not going to matter too much. I just want them to be a little bit better than just basic. So there we go. And once we hit level 3, we can equip all these and replace our shitty flasks with those. Alright, so enough screwing around. Let's go out and screw around out in the wilderness rather than in the town. I forgot to sell my plate mail, so I'll just do that next time. I have this little Twitch thing here. I don't know if this is from the Twitch app that I had to download for one of my games. I wanted to use add-ons, and it's like, oh, the Curse client has combined with the Twitch app. So you need to get the Twitch app. So I got the Twitch app, and now it's giving me a thing down in the bottom. So I guess if I was streaming, I'd be able to see your chat down there or something. Okay. One of the things I forgot to do was actually set up my skill gems properly. Those are gloves that I did not buy, so we can pick those up too. Once we hit level 3, we'll have much more flasks available to us. But one thing I forgot to sort of tell you guys about is the skills. The skills come in gems. There's active skills, and then there's support skills. So this one here, Heavy Strike, is active, and it's being supported by Ruthless. Ruthless has that sort of property with it. It allows me for every third attack does like a bit more damage and shit like that. We're going to take off Heavy Strike because we're actually focusing on using Molten Strike for single target, and we will get another skill gem eventually for AoE damage. And essentially what this game really boils down to... Oh, I forgot to set Molten Strike. There we go. Molten Strike basically makes it so that you drop like fire bombs as you hit, and there's an armor scrap. That's one of those currency things we're talking about. And the gems will level up as you use them as well. So Molten Strike leveled up right there because it was the first time I ever used it, and it just leveled up again because it's trying to catch up to me at the moment. So it'll stop leveling up every single enemy eventually. But our goal here is to actually just find the waypoint and go to the Tidal Island, which is, we're just looking for a way off of this map into the Tidal Island map. Now, I used to play this game in a way where I would just sort of explore the entire map and find everything in it. I don't do that anymore because I realized that it's actually just an incredibly inefficient use of your time. It might be fun. Sometimes I'll just shut my brain off and I'll just cover the entire map and, you know, kill all the enemies in it. But then what happens is you end up over-leveling and you lose the ability to... Well, you don't lose the ability to do anything, but you just end up leveling much slower if you do it that way. So I'm approaching this series much like another series you may have seen that I've just recently started, where instead of... like, I'm not necessarily speedrunning it, but I'm not, you know, just sort of lollygagging my way through either. I'm going to try to at least be somewhat efficient with my time. That also means not killing every single enemy you see. However, sometimes, like when the enemies line up in nice groups like this, then it's, you know, worth it to kill them because you're getting a nice chunk of experience in that case. And we did just level up to level 3, so we're going to go ahead and replace all of these flasks here. Those are our mana flasks, and those are our health flasks. You even know who I am? Jeez. So we're in the Tidal Island map now, and here we're seeing for the first time what we call Harbingers. Harbingers are this league's, or you know, this. It's kind of like seasons in Diablo 3. It's like this season's specialty monster that you will find in most maps. They're not necessarily in every single map, but you have a high % chance to find them in every map if you explore the entire area. And they're pretty good because they tend to give you some awesome shit once you defeat them, but they're a bit stronger than most enemies. So they drop all these shards, and these shards will turn into the orbs that I need as soon as I collect enough of them. We're also going to get another passive skill point, which I'm going to put here. Yeah, because we're going down the way. But our main goal for being in this map is to look for the medicine chest. So that's really what we're here for. We're just picking up some loot and some experience along the way. Anybody who actually stands in our way, we will kill. We use our flasks here to fill up on mana and fill up on health as we need it. And you can refill your... See, this one's empty right now. You fill it up by killing other enemies. So as I kill these guys, I will gain extra usage. See, it's already filled up a little bit. And if I keep going and kill all these guys, I'll probably be able to get it up to full. However, this is Hellrake. This is the boss of the area. And he's actually pretty strong. You need to be somewhat cautious when dealing with him. But we killed him pretty quickly, so he wasn't that strong. But he's also the one who holds the medicine chest. So we'll pick that up. Now, these mana flasks we're not going to pick up, but I will pick up this item. And the reason why I'm picking up this item is because it's a chromatic item. It's a chromatic item because it has a red, a green, and a blue gem slot. They don't have to be linked to be a chromatic item, by the way. They just have to have one of each color. Sometimes you'll get like items that have like 5 or 6 sockets in them. As long as it represents one of each color, then that's a chromatic item. And that means that you can trade it in to a vendor and get a chromatic orb for it. And that's a whole other complicated thing that I'm not necessarily the best suited to explain, but they call them vendor recipes. And if you turn in a certain combination of items to the vendor, you can get a certain combination of items back. Most of the time they just give you like shards of orbs so that you can, you know, build up your orb collection, because there's no gold in this game. When you sell your shit to NPCs, they don't give you gold. They give you different currency items depending on what type of item you're actually trading. So if you trade them a chromatic item, like the one I just picked up, they'll give you a chromatic orb, which is actually really good because you can use a chromatic orb to re-roll the socket colors on your items, which is important when you're trying to set up a very specific build, which we are doing, by the way. We are following a very strict, specific build. So eventually we're going to want to make sure that we have gear that has the proper gem slot colors. Here's another chromatic one. That has the proper gem slot colors and the proper links and stuff like that. And that's where using all of these orbs comes into play. And we'll get into that a little bit as we get further on. I've already showed you guys some of how you can use those orbs to enhance your leveling experience, but it can get way deeper than that. So we finished that quest. We're going to come back and we're going to speak to these guys. And by these guys, I mean Nessa. She's going to give us a quick silver flask for our reward, and we're going to put that on our 5th slot. And turn things in. And these guys are just giving us quests and giving us quest rewards as we complete them. Now we have extra quests that we can do. Nessa will also sell us some gems, and one of the ones we want is actually Ground Slam. So we want Ground Slam. We're going to put it on any slot. It doesn't really matter. We're going to set it to E, because E is my AoE ability. And we're also going to sell these. So you can sell item, and you'll notice I get a chromatic orb for selling this chromatic item. This one too. Now I get 2 chromatic orbs. But if I sell a random superior plate mail, it just gives me a scroll fragment for a scroll of wisdom. It's not really all that good. There are vendor recipes where you can put in a certain amount of flasks and it will upgrade it to the next level flask. I don't really focus on that too much because I like to just sort of find my flasks around the world. We just throw the stuff in our stash, and Heavy Strike can go in here as well. To never be used again, probably. So what are we looking at for time here? We got 20 minutes, so we can go ahead and keep going here. Gonna try to make these episodes about 30 minutes long. And I'm not really trying to make it a tutorial series, but for those of you who have never played the game before, some of this stuff is going to warrant at least a little bit of explanation, and I'll do that to the best of my ability. So now we are in the Mud Flats, which I believe has... No, there's no waypoint in the Mud Flats. So there's a couple different things we can do around here. You see on the map we got these quest markers. We now have Ground Slam, by the way, which is our AoE ability. You can see here. It's pretty good. We want to pick up these glyphs, and that's gonna... Oh, another chromatic orb. We'll pick that, or chromatic item that will give us an orb. Just like Diablo 3, we have some magic enemies here. They're going to be a little bit stronger. They have different abilities. The further we get into the game, the more dangerous those abilities will be, that those types of enemies will get. And it's worth noting that this game, I believe, is created by a lot of the same developers that made Diablo 2. It's sort of like a callback to Diablo 2, made by Diablo 2 developers. And, you know, some people... It's a definite valid point that some people will say that this game is even better than Diablo 3. I don't like to say that one game is better than the other. I just like to say that both of them are pretty good. So, you know, Diablo 3 is good for some things, and Diablo 2 is good for other things, and Path of Exile is good for its own things as well. So one of the things that will happen as you're roaming the area is you'll find these NPCs, and they always offer you a quest. And usually it's like a quick little thing to do in order to level up your reputation with them. And as you level up your reputation with specific NPCs, they can offer you different gear. They'll sell you gear. You can make a hideout, which is something I don't have any experience at all in, even though I'm probably eligible to make one. I haven't made one yet. And they do other things as well. It's not mandatory that you do these quests, but it's usually recommended because you get experience, you get to level up their reputation, and you can use them for other things. So we're just defending this altar for 1 minute. And we're getting some decent experience killing all these guys. Look at the experience bar down there grow as we kill each enemy. There we go. Boom. Done. Plus I dropped a lot of loot, but most of the loot is pretty useless. So this guy's level 3 for me now. If you're just starting up, he's going to be level 1, but that's not much we can really do. So we're taking the outside route here for some more life and armor, and we're going to talk about these extra skills as we get to them, because some of the passive skills you get are just basic bonus to your armor, bonus to your hit points, that type of shit, but others are actually really quite powerful, and that's sort of how you build your character around trying to get as many of those powerful passive nodes as you can. So a lot of people will skip this quest, but I like to do it. I'm not gonna skip any quests. I'm gonna do every quest that I see, just because that's sort of the way I like to play. And you do get, I believe, a skill point for completing these quests, so might as well take that extra skill point while we can. So just using some ground slam here to try to do as much damage as possible to multiple enemies. There we go. In this zone, we actually do need to kill every enemy on the map. So you can see I'm already starting to find these orbs, you know, and I'm building the collection already. I was thinking about doing solo self-found so that I wouldn't have that advantage of already having a bunch of these gems and a bunch of these orbs already at my disposal, but I realized that if I want to go for a specific build, I'm gonna need to trade. Like, there's some items that you require in order to make a build work. And if you can't trade for it, then what do you do? Then you have to find it. And it's incredibly unlikely to actually find these items. Of course it does happen, but I believe that they're incredibly hard to find. So if I resorted to that, then it would be like I might not be able to make my build work for quite a while. We did level up, by the way. I forgot about that, so we'll go ahead and throw that in. We want to make sure we actually uncover all of this map so we don't leave any enemies behind, because we need to kill them all. These things I'm picking up are just other gems. Just picking them up so I can throw them in my stash in case any of my other characters will need them at any point. Here we go. Got a rare enemy here. And they work very similarly to the gear that you find. Like, see, this enemy is rare, so he's got 4 different bonuses. Well, actually, I guess maybe only 3. Undead isn't necessarily a bonus. It's just a type of monster he is, so he doesn't necessarily get a bonus for that, but if you find a rare enemy, they're going to have more bonuses than a normal magic one would. Same as if you found a rare sword. Here's another Harbinger, by the way. You know, it's the same thing. So just something kind of obvious, but worth noting if you're new to the game. Here's a chromatic sword. Pick that up. I'm not going to be picking up every single chromatic item, by the way. But I've just recently used a bunch of chromatic orbs, so it's actually not a bad idea to build up the stockpile a little bit more. Molten Strike is pretty good. These binding shards that I'm picking up, by the way, are awesome. We're going to get a much more in-depth look at how awesome they are later on, because they're not going to do much for us right now until we build them up. You need 20 shards to make... Did we finish it? Yeah, we did. You need 20 shards to make an actual orb. And if we get a binding orb, or an orb of binding, it's really, really good. So, and we will use those as we level up. Alright, so we finished the Dirty Job quest. Now we're just really looking for the rest of these glyphs, because we need these glyphs in order to move into the next zone. Alright, now this superior padded vest is green like that because the item filter that I'm using, or the loot filter that I'm using, has determined that this vest has rolled very high stats for its base. It means that if you are a character who needs to wear a studded vest, then you are probably very happy to pick that one up because it rolled very, very highly on its stats. Because you can find another studded vest that rolls very poorly. And here's one for a copper sword. We're actually using swords, so that will actually be good for us. So let me see, have I picked up any other? Yeah, there's a chromatic copper sword here, so this will be a good opportunity for me to show you guys what we mean. Now, obviously, this is a rare item as well, so if we look at them side by side, it's 7 to 15 damage. Well, it's unidentified. As soon as I identify it, boom, 8 to 17. So it's got a bit more damage, plus all these added benefits here. And it's got a triple link, which is very good. However, 2 of the links are green, and that's not necessarily super awesome for us, but it's going to do a lot more damage than the one I had already. So not only is this better because it's a rare item, but also because the stats that it's rolled are higher than average. Now here's the exit, and I did find, there's only 3 glyphs you have to find. I found them all, and you put them in there, and then it opens up the area to the submerged passage, which I'm only coming in now because I know that the waypoint is very close by. These levels are procedurally generated, however, they have a lot of consistent properties to them, I guess. Like the waypoint is always near the front door of the submerged passage, and you'll see there'll be other areas where it's like, yeah, the map is random, but they always have the same boss, and the waypoint is always in sort of the same area, that type of thing. So by completing the fetid pool, oh, that's actually, we're gonna take the ancestral protector gem. Yeah, we get the Book of Regrets. Okay, so we didn't even get any skill points for doing this. Instead, we got regret points. Regret points allow you to take away a level and put it somewhere else as long as you're attached to it still. So it helps you respec. Because respecking is not that easy in this game. It actually requires effort, and it's generally not usually worth it. So this is a nice padded vest. We're going to turn all this stuff in to our stash. Actually, before we go to the stash, we're going to sell this stuff. We're going to get our chromatic orb and then some other things. You just get a bit better stuff for selling rare items and shit. So we're going to do that. And then we're going to just throw all this shit in here. Put a gem in there by accident. We'll go over to gems and just throw these in. We need Ancestral Protector, so we're going to throw that on here. And that's just an extra skill that's going to help us out. But that's going to do it for this episode, so I guess we'll have to check on that later. Again, guys, I don't really like begging for likes, but since this is episode 1 of a series, I'm always very happy for you guys to hit the like button if you're interested in seeing where this is going. I have attempted Path of Exile before, you know, and I'm not necessarily committing to a 200 episode series or anything like that, but we'll see where it goes, right? I want to just take it as deep as I can and show you guys the game as well and get some tips from you guys. Some of you guys might know a lot more than I do. I'm really not that knowledgeable on Path of Exile, although I have watched quite a few guide videos and I'm starting to get the hang of it. There's a lot to this game, so if you see anything that I'm doing that's stupid and you think I need to change it, let me know in the comments. I don't mind comments like that. So yeah, hopefully you guys will enjoy this, and we will see you next time.